Okay, guys, so I know I've made a little couple of shorts about having turkeys, and I really should have posted a video sooner when we got them, but as you guys know, it's been a crazy couple of weeks between school and finals and everything going on, so I just didn't get around to it. But these guys grew so fast, so I wish I would have shared more of what they looked like when they were super tiny. Now, if you notice, they're inside of this little container. This is in that spare bedroom that we're completely remodeling. We've already had to replace the subfloor, completely cut out the entire floor down to the joints. It's been a lot of work, and we still have to do the sheetrock and all of that. So there's very little in here as I've been moving everything out over the week. And this is kind of the perfect room to incubate everyone until I figure out exactly what I'm going to do for permanent housing for them, which I think is probably finish out the part of the duck coop that is surrounded by chicken wire already. My kids are coming here to ask to use my phone because they're bored out of their minds and it's starting to get late. So if you hear the squeaky door, it's just one more thing this room has to offer. But what you see is this is a container. It was a $10 container. I can't believe that it was only $10 because it really is such a good quality. Now, my husband uses this primarily for tools, but I was saying that I really needed a good container because these birds, I came in here yesterday and then they had all four flown out of the container already at less than 2 weeks old. Were walking around on the floor, using the bathroom everywhere. Before we even noticed. I came in here to change their food and water, and surprise, they were out. And it's not the first time they got out, but it's the first time that they've got out for a prolonged period of time. So now they're in this box, which what he did was just drill little holes with the drill and put zip ties through, and then connect this predator wire that we already had lying around. Now the cool thing about this container is that all four sides have this so they all just kind of close like that. I don't know why, but the power just went out and came back on. That's been happening a lot. I noticed on the main road by our house. I was driving the other night on my way home after, I think I was at the grocery store. I don't really remember where I was going. And the power just suddenly flashed off and then turned right back on again. And when I got home, I was about half a mile from home. When I got home, my family had said that the power shut off really fast at the house and turned back on a couple of times too. So it's just really weird. So, but anyways, so you can see they're kind of trying to figure out how they could possibly get out of this. And they can't, thankfully, because that was part of the issue. And it's really gross and unsanitary to have them getting out and pooping in places they're not supposed to. So right here is this light, and the reason that you're not seeing any light being emitted from it is because it doesn't emit light. I can't even think right now what it's called. I'm blinking out so badly. Can you guys tell that my mind is just absolute mush after finishing all my assignments? Last night I had my very last one and I stayed up until about 3 a.m. Submitting a pretty in-depth PowerPoint. It was not your average PowerPoint. There were a lot of statistics and analytics involved, and I'm just, yeah, I'm mentally fried, to be honest. So you just guys work with me. I can't for the life of me think about what this heat bulb is called right now, but it's the type of bulb that you use for reptiles, and I know I've mentioned it before with the correct terms in videos that I've made. So you guys, I really appreciate if you just forgive me being completely out of it. Maybe I shouldn't even be making a video on my turkeys right now, but hey, at least it kind of shows off that when you're homesteading and trying to live this lifestyle, even if you're not completely all in yet, it can be exhausting, guys. It can take some toll mentally and emotionally, so just be aware of that. But I wouldn't trade it. I really do enjoy this. Now, these baby turkeys, it's a radiant heat bulb. That's what it is. There it is, right there. I don't know if you guys are to this point yet. You may be a little older or younger than me, but I guarantee you once you hit your 30s, there'll just be times where you have no idea. You just totally blink in mid-sentence, and then about 5-10 minutes later, sometimes a few hours later, it suddenly just pops right back in your head where you were. And it's so funny how it works out, but it can be really frustrating at the same time. So, I wanted to show you guys kind of what we did. Now, over here in this mess of a room, so everything looks crazy because it is. I mean, it's a complete, everything's just falling apart in here. So it's been a lot of work to get it where it needs to be, and we're not even close yet, which is why the birds and the plants are in here, and a fish tank, and not much else, just storage. Now, this light currently is just connected to the stand for the plants. You can see I have potatoes that I never got around to planting, and then there are all these plant starts that I'm starting up here, and the light. So this is kind of the setup that I had in my living room. We moved into, kind of added it, added some stuff, and changed it up a little bit. But this prevents the cat from laying on the plant starts or the dog pulling them down, which the dog hasn't pulled plant starts down in about a year or so. He's almost 3, so I think he's just kind of getting out of that stage. However, our cat is getting into it. You know, you think after, you know, I don't know, after he became a year old, he would chill, but all of a sudden he went from being chill to being crazy. So now he wants to lay on the plants, he eats them, which is hilarious, but still not what I would like. And, you know, what can you do? Pets. So I'm just going to kind of undo this and then lift it up. So you can kind of see the setup, but this actually needs to come out because y'all filled it with shavings. The amount of times a day that these guys will fill their water with shavings. Now, I learned this trick from Goldshaw Farms about using these for water. It works out wonderfully. Now, I will have to clean out all these shavings, but it really has kept my birds from getting inside of the water and hurting themselves in any way. You can see they've even managed to get shavings inside of their food, but that's not going to be as hard to clean out, you know. It's easy to get all these shavings out of their food. I will have to clean that out. Now, these guys are already scratching around. When I came in here yesterday and they were inside, they were pecking at the floor and eating things that they found. So they're very active. You can see why they're able to fly. Look at those wings. Like, they have enormous wing feathers already. They're doing so well and feathering out. Now, I'm currently feeding a medicated 30% protein feed for turkeys. I'm not a fan of medicated feed. I usually don't use it, but that's the only type of turkey feed I could find. Initially, I used like a 22% laying crumble because that's what I had on hand, and then when I went to the feed store a couple of days later, I transitioned them. But they're growing so rapidly, and they're still kind of light. Now, you can see where their breasts are kind of starting to develop already because these are a commercial breed of turkey. They are the broad-breasted white turkeys. Now, he was supposed to bring home some broad-breasted bronze turkeys. So imagine my surprise when he brought home these little golden-colored turkey poults, and I quickly realized that that was not what they were sold to us as, but that is okay. And look at that. It's a perfect example of how they get out. Get back in there, guy. I don't know if these are males or females, honestly. But, yeah, you can kind of see. They're massive. I can't believe how tall they are. They're growing so quickly. I'm really impressed with that. Now, I've read a lot about the weights they are, and from what I'm reading and gathering, because I don't want a ridiculously sized bird, and I also don't want them to get unhealthy or risk their bones or anything else hurting, their hearts giving out, all those horrible things that can happen when you grow these fast growing breeds, especially if they're broilers and you're not taking good care of them, and being mindful about their extremely fast growth rate. I don't want that to happen to these turkeys. I feel like that's absolutely awful. So I'm thinking about 14 weeks. If they're large enough, then we'll go ahead and process them. About that time, we should get, say, 12 to 15 pound turkey, which is pretty much perfect for us. And if these do really well, then I will definitely be getting more turkeys. So far, so good. I'm really impressed. I thought it would be a lot harder raising turkeys. than it is. I really enjoy this. I didn't realize that they were going to do so well. I've heard so many horror stories about turkeys, about how they die easily, they're hard to maintain, you know, the first week is critical, and I really fed into that. I was really worried and freaked out, which is why we have 4 of them. I cannot express enough how pleasantly surprised I am that they're doing better. This is just a really good example of try it for yourself, because your experience may not be someone else's experience. And so far, my experience is really good. So I definitely think that this is going to be a permanent venture for us, and it's a really quick, fast-growing way to get meat. We weren't always fans of turkey, but a couple weeks ago, we tried a couple of turkeys, and I think they had been soaked in a salt brine first, and it was the most delicious, tender meat we've ever had. It didn't taste like that weird, gamey, I don't know how to explain it, the way that some turkeys, especially store-bought turkeys, taste. It is not good. And I was really impressed with that. So I thought, well, my family loves that. It would be an easy way to grow meat with us being in a more urban, kind of suburban setting. It would just be easier. We could grow them. It would only take a few months. And about 3.5 months is what we're looking at in growing them out. So I have about 3 months left. And just a quick way to get food without taking up a lot of space. They can scratch around. They can maybe help control some of the grass, some of the bug population in and around the garden area. So there are a lot of options here, and I'm extremely excited about it. I wish that I would have taken the time to do better and maybe record them a little bit every few days to show just how they started feathering out, but I'm making up for that now, because now you can clearly see they have their wing feathers. They're starting to get some tail feathers, but they are not fully feathered everywhere else. So I'll try at the very least to do a weekly update now that I'm not in school for the next month, and honestly really consider taking the summer off. I'm not sure that I will, to be honest, because every time I think that I will take a semester off, I end up not doing so. Glutton for punishment, I suppose, is what you could call it. You can see that these guys are extremely curious. They want to see what I'm doing. They want to get out. They want to walk around and be active. Now, I do need to change out their feed, but that's really hard to do holding a camera. Opening these metal feeders, they're hard to slide open. So that is what I'm going to be doing. Just kind of sliding this open, getting all the shavings out, and filling it up the rest of the way. But man, they are lovely. I really like having turkeys. I highly recommend it. If you guys want to try out having a couple, do so. I would say keep them in some kind of coop, because these turkeys can fly. They do not fly for long, because eventually they're like those Cornish cross broilers. They get so heavy so quickly that they won't fly. So they'll only roost up for the first couple of weeks, and then they get kind of too heavy to do so. And so you need a good amount of bedding to keep them from just nesting in the mud and dirt. You don't want that for any livestock. So I think that deep bedding method is going to work great for us, because we already do it in our goose duck coop. That's what we have right now. We do have chickens, but they're still in the brooder. They're not down and out yet. And it won't be too much longer until they are, but they're still fairly small. Whereas these turkeys, maybe half the age of those chickens, actually a quarter of the age of some of them, but they're going to be growing clearly about 6 times as fast. So that's something to consider. And I think what we're going to do, like I said before, is finish off that area of the duck coop. And actually, I think I'm going to step out there right now for those of you that don't know, and kind of show you that duck coop. And then after I finish filming, I'm going to come back in here, change out their food and their water, because yeah, well, they have water full of shavings and food full of shavings. It's just crazy, because the amount of times that we come in here to check on them is insane, and and actually change out their water several times a day, because they get shavings in it, or they just drink quite rapidly. You might be impressed with the amount of water that turkeys can drink. I know that I am. What's up, guy? I came out here to show you that area of the coop, and this guy's just right at my feet. Oh, he's a sweet boy. This is the one who's always he's always eating my plants and things of that nature, kind of laying on them. I really think he just likes the light and the warmth of the heat mats, but you know, he's a cat. But also the plants taste good because you see him in the garden sampling plants and laying in there too. Still standing behind me. Okay, so you're gonna hear a lot of noise because across the street they're actually redoing the insulation and siding on one of the trailers. So that's what they're doing over there. You can hear probably the nail gun and a lot of other things. So this is the area. Now this is where the blue swimming pool was, the little tiny one that the ducks kind of play in. We put that there for the ducklings, but because of the amount of rain we had, it's just not necessary. Plus the ducklings are basically full adult size now, even though they're only about 2.5 to 3 months old. And they can get in and out of the big pond, but also, you know, there's a ton of rain, so there's water like this, large amounts of it everywhere. So this is the area, and you can see what I mean. This has chicken wire, and then this has old wire that actually a while back, a couple years ago when the kids were younger, the boys just came out here one day and cut a big hole in it. We've kind of repaired it. It will need to be completely replaced eventually. We just haven't done it because we're trying to figure out if we should do predator wire or chicken wire or whatnot, and that's kind of what it looks like with the chicken wire. And then up here I just have I don't know what it's called, some kind of garden line trellising. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I want to say it's 4x4 in size, and I know that it's 16 feet in length. It's been a while. I think it's been almost a year since I put this up here. So what I did was put it up here so that things could grow over it, but of course now that we have geese, I was not expecting to get geese at the time I put this up. They just kind of eat everything that grows. Originally it was supposed to be for what you see now. It's just a dead plant. It was a passion fruit vine, which this would have been its second year growing, but it was completely obliterated this winter during a freeze, and I thought it was the freeze alone that killed it. And then I looked at the roots and realized that the roots were actually split almost the same way that if you had squash bugs on a squash plant, they would be split in half. So it looks like there's some pest damage as well, and it used to cover all of this and was starting to climb on here before it died. And that's what this was about originally. Now I'm thinking about putting some kind of boards that run across to connect it, because it is over 8 foot wide and it's a good bit in length. Not quite 16 feet because it's 16 foot, and you can see it's all tangled up right there, the ending of it. So, you know, but it's at least 12 feet long. And what's going to happen is we'll put that on and either put some kind of cattle panel and then put predator wire, or we will just straight up get some more of this tin. It has to be a specific type based on the grooves, because this is a special type of tin. And we got it from my husband's work. So we can't just go to Home Depot and buy the same exact thing. I mean, I guess we could, but it's actually a bit more pricey, so it's eek. So we're waiting to get a chance to get the truck or have somebody go up there with us and load a bunch of it up still, because there's more that he can have, but we haven't gotten around to doing that yet. So once we get some more of this tin, it'll cover the top. But like I said, we might put some wire on it for now and just build a little house somewhere down here for them to walk around and be able to scratch and everything. But one more thing that has to happen is right here, this used to be the doorway. Now the door is now on the outside of the duck coop, because we weren't expecting to expand it. We actually doubled the size of the coop, and that's why we took this door and moved it out there. So we need to build another door, and right here you can kind of see this is the door that was there originally. And the geese trying to figure out what I'm doing. See that bag of shavings right on the other side of that door? They actually, my son threw it in there late last night because it started raining out of nowhere. And the geese went in there and just completely ripped the bag open and started taking about half the shavings out. and building another nest, which they're not nesting right now, so it's just kind of funny to watch. However, I did catch one of the younger geese, who's only about 3.5 months old, setting on a nest of duck eggs, which was funny because she's not even old enough to lay or anything else. And we had to go back and get those out because, of course, our geese have decided that they're going to start pecking at the eggs, and they've cracked holes in it. Even caught them eating an egg the other day, and I thought about grabbing my phone and recording that, but I was so upset. I just wanted to get that egg away from them as quickly as possible because I don't want them to think that that's okay. And of course they don't do it to their own eggs. They only are interested in eating the duck eggs. So I don't know if that's just because they found that they like the taste of them, or to kind of stiff out the competition with other waterfowl and resources, which is crazy because there are plenty of resources, but instinct and everything else. Now, this will be probably the area that we raise out the turkey poults in until they get big enough not to be able to fly away. And honestly, by that point, they'll probably be big enough to butcher. And then this is a whole nother area where we can raise things into. But what I did was take this panel right here. Now, these are removable. They just screw on and off really easily. And that way we can allow them to have access to different areas, or we can completely close in the coop and allow them no access to this area if we really want to encourage them to free range all of this, which sometimes we do. But they tore through the fencing that we had around it, which was just some cheap deer netting, and now we have to replace it. Hey guys. You can see they've been kind of playing in the mud and digging through and everything else. Now, it will rain again, but now it's just drying up really fast, so you can see the amount of mud coming in here, and then all it takes is one day of rain and this thing's just completely full again. But what I'm thinking is I'm going to come out here and dig this out some. We're going to kind of reconfigure part of the fencing and dig out a trench along the backyard, so it makes sense to come out here with a tractor while we're doing all that and dig all of this out a little bit more so they can, you know, they're birds, they like water, so they can just play in it and have their own little area. I would love to put some aquatic plants and everything out here and really make it look nice, but with geese there's absolutely no point. You really do need a ridiculously large area because they eat so much. Now, they do not pull the roots out of the plants. They will just kind of eat them where they look shaggy and sad, and then the plants will grow back, whereas goats will grab them and completely rip the plants out, which is one reason why my husband's partially against having goats, why we live here, because he just doesn't think it would be good with the amount of water parts of our yard hold, and the fact that we're on, you know, less than 3/4 of an acre probably plays a huge factor in that. And at first I wasn't okay with that. I really wanted goats, and sometimes I still do, but I just don't think that I have time for the amount of work that they require, and that's just the realistic and honest truth. Why are you staring at me like that, huh? Oh, man. You can see what a mess it is. So this is what it looks like when we haven't reapplied the shavings. And the deep litter method, it does become a mess. It doesn't always look pretty. You need to scoop out the old shavings and reapply shavings. And while there's still quite a bit of shavings in here, it looks like, based off seeing some poop and stuff over here, that it's time to start shoveling this out and reapplying it. While it's a little bit cooler this week, I may go ahead and do that. But that's not the only thing that needs to be fixed, because the birds are making a nasty mess up here. Let me show you. So these babies, now we've already scrubbed their water and all of that today. They have managed to scrape out every last shaving once again, which only takes them about a day and a half to do, and poop all over this. So all of this cardboard will have to be pulled out. It'll be composted. I'll put new cardboard down. I'll put more shavings in, just like we do for the rabbits, just like I do for anything that we're brooding. And the same method kind of we used for the coop, except we don't lay cardboard down because it is a dirt. You know, it has contact straight with the dirt. And then that'll give them shavings, but they will just kick them all out if I reach under here, well, I can't because I've actually pulled most of them out now, but it just, underneath the cage, it'll just fill up with shavings from where they kick them out, or they'll kick them down into the rabbit cages, and it's just crazy. So you guys went from being cleaner to the ducks now to being much messier than some of them. You can see these chickens. These are the ones that were extremely small compared to the other ones. Looks like we have 2 boys and a girl, so 2 roosters. My phone's getting a little blurry, sorry about that. And then we definitely have a bunch of the larger ones that are roosters and some chickens. These came out so cool. Because I come from a mixed flock, I can't tell you exactly what they are, but I am excited to see how they're growing out. You can see, like, this guy here is clearly a rooster and is getting some of those feathers in. And then I think this one is too. Look at those. That is a clear sign that it's a boy. But some of them are pretty much obviously girls, and I'm pretty excited about that, to have a couple of girls in the mix. I don't want all roosters. Obviously, we're not going to be able to keep a bunch of roosters, especially if they're aggressive. But for one, we're in an urban setting. It is annoying to the neighbors because it's annoying to me to hear roosters constantly. They are not far from my bedroom window. And also, they get aggressive towards one another. And the last time we kept roosters, I had a really bad experience with them attacking my youngest son. At the time, he was only 2, which is one of the many reasons that we had ducks for so long. But my oldest prefers chicken eggs. Oh man, I almost had a heart attack. It looked like one of my chicks was dead, laying down in the back, but look, it was just laying down. I was looking at its tail feathers thinking it was its head. That freaked me out for a minute. About gave me a nervous breakdown. These chickens in the very back, that one you're seeing down there is a crossbreed. But this one right here, the black one, they're actually a cross between a silky and a meat broiler to create a darker meat chicken. That doesn't grow quite as fast as the Cornish cross, but I am interested to see how they grow up to look. One of them has 5 toes and one doesn't, so you can definitely see how the silky traits apply differently depending on the bird. Not every bird looks the same, and they're not always black. They actually tend to have a lot of red in their feathers too, so you can get one that's black and red, one that's primarily red, or black. So they have some variation, but they all have that dark silky colored skin, and then a good portion of them have the dark silky colored legs, which is really cool. And like I said, one has 5 toes and one doesn't. So that is interesting. I've never had them before. We actually got them because they're both females and they'll lay eggs, but I don't know a whole lot of what to expect. One thing I do know is that these guys are taking over this whole little brooder, and it's time to really focus on moving them out too. So I think we have a lot of work ahead of us as far as getting a coop built for these guys, because I want them to be moving in the garden area and really control the pests in the walkways and the grass and things of that nature. Now they'll still have their feed and everything else, but they will definitely be a large part of our garden and kind of the permaculture aspect of it, using animals and everything working together. But because they will be in the garden area and that provides food for our family, they will not be allowed to just have free range. They would definitely be in an area where A, hawks cannot get them because we have a huge issue with that, but B, they can't escape and just ravage the garden. That's happened before, and I absolutely don't want that to happen again. When you put that much work into something, you really want to protect it. So that's something to consider. And it looks like tonight, after I'm done doing this, I go inside, take care of the baby turkeys, and get them fresh water and all the shavings out of their feed. I will be in here cleaning this out because these guys are just an absolute mess, and you can see we just got shavings from Tractor Supply, so nothing special there. You can kind of see what I mean by it's just an absolute muddy mess. I'm worried about some of the algae bloom that just kind of showed up out of nowhere, so that needs to be fixed. Whether it's adding more water or definitely getting some fencing up so they can kind of go in other areas. I'm pretty sure as it progresses, you know, through spring and closer to summer, all of this will dry up and there will not be any water here. But we'll see what happens. Originally the plan was to sprinkle some ryegrass in here, but every time it gets dry enough to do so, all of a sudden it's raining again. So I have no idea what to expect with that. And you can see everyone's gonna run away from me now. They really went in there to lay their eggs, so I think we're gonna make this into some kind of something. It's supposed to be a brooder for the chickens, and honestly, I might consider putting them in there because they do need a larger space. But I did notice that some of the rain gets through the front of it, which we can't close that off because then there won't be enough airflow. But additionally, it's really hard to get power all the way out to this area. We'd have to run electricity out here again. And there just feels like there's so many extension cords and so many things that we're having to do right now on projects. I just can't take another thing, to be honest. So I know that this has kind of been the longest update video ever, but there is a lot going on here, and I don't know the last time I really thoroughly showed everything. My big focus has been the lettuce, squash, and blackberries. That has taken up so much of our time, but now we're kind of spreading out our focus and moving more towards meat and everything else. My son's out here, so the geese are freaking out on him, and this whole area is a mess because it's about where their feed is, which they've dumped over throwing a fit because he's out here. So they poop a lot here and all of that. Really, is that necessary? You ever wondered what people mean when they say geese are incredibly loud? This is it. They are being ridiculous, all because there's a person out here and they are alerting me to it. If you notice, when I'm out here by myself, they're actually fairly quiet. And the only time they really want to get around me is when I have feed or they're curious. They're just going to steadily complain about him being out here. I'm surprised they're not getting into the deeper water, into that pond, and kind of cleaning off. Instead, they're just wading around the mud, finding probably crawfish. We have a lot of crawfish out here and different things of that nature. I know that I've seen them eating flies and other insects. They just have the time of their life. This is a fairly large area with both sections combined. It is well over 1,500 square feet. And I say that without knowing the true side. Just one side is 1,000 plus square feet, and we're going to continuously add to this. So by the time it's all said and done, they will have a 1/4 acre to themselves constantly. It won't be sometimes, it'll be all the time. They have access to all of that. That is a large space to have 24-hour access to.
Why is it red?
It's red because the algae is kind of taking over here, which is starting to become an issue. So if it gets any worse, then we're going to have to reevaluate having the birds out here and probably move them out there where all the grass is, get some fencing up. It looks like, I don't know if that's poop or if they laid an egg right in the middle of that water. It looks like there could be an egg. I found, were you out here the other day when I found an egg right here, kind of in the water? It may have been Sam. There was an egg that was like, you could only see the top of it in the water. I don't know why they laid in the middle of the water, but they do that sometimes.
Probably let it be, like when it was dried out.
No, because we come out here like every day or every other day to get the egg, so I'm not sure. But sometimes, maybe, I mean, you could be right, they could have laid it when it was dried out. I've also seen them lay it on the edge of the water and then they get kind of kicked in as they roll in and out of the water. Look at that algae bloom just on this, guys. We've put a ridiculous amount of that livestock algicide in there. It is not working. So if we don't figure something out soon, that means that this weekend we will be emptying this out and refilling it once again. Look at them. That's what I'm talking about. They're very noisy, very alert. They're all kind of walking towards him. Have you ever been bit by one of our geese?
Nope.
No? Yeah, but they are not. Look at the amount of mud on those boots.
I got stuck in the mud over there.
That's a lot of mud. It's amazing because there was like 2 feet of water just a couple of days ago. And then it rained last night. I thought that it would fill up really fast because it usually does, but it didn't. So I'm guessing we didn't get that much rain.
Where did you put those fishes at?
Those 2 fish, they're in this pond. And then obviously the other fish are still in there. In the house. Well, I actually think that I'm gonna get off of here. It's after 7. We've already cooked and eaten dinner and got all that done, but now I need to go check the garden to pick the rest of the blackberries and the squash because I know that we probably have some in there that are ripe. Blackberries we're picking, what, 2 or 3? How often are we picking blackberries? 2, 3 times a day? I know I pick them morning and night. Do you pick them too?
Yeah, I pick them like once a day.
You do? Like the kids?
No, we all pick them.
I pick them every morning when I get up and every evening for sure. And sometimes if I happen to go out midday, so I'm picking them at least twice. And then whatever you guys pick them. Yeah.
I don't pick them many times. Look at Quacker.
That's not really your job, huh?
Look at Quacker. They don't even think he's a dog.
No, he's really big compared to the ducks, but then you kind of see him compared to the geese and he looks so small.
Oh, I meant geese. Yeah. Why did I say ducks? Wait.
Because there are ducks everywhere.
Yeah, it's only like...
This is a muddy, nasty mess. It is just yucky.
It's only 5 geese.
One thing I will be excited about...
Are they drinking the water?
No, there's stuff on the bottom of it and it looks like they're digging it out. I saw one eating a crawfish. I've seen them eat frogs when the frogs come in here.
What? I've never seen them eat a crawfish.
Yeah, they find them, they eat them. It's really crazy.
If
They find more of them when they're out there kind of in that grassy area where the water is right there. That's where a lot of them are because you'll see like the crawfish nest burrows, I guess.
If crawfish never crawled on my foot, I'm good with that, but don't just crawl on my skin. I don't allow that.
Yeah, no, that would be scary, huh?
Yeah.
I get a little nervous. I'm always worried that the animals will eat crawfish and then you'll eat the eggs. It makes me nervous. So Charlie here actually has a very serious shellfish allergy. And so we're very careful about what he eats. Hello. Now, crawfish, it's a really big thing for people to cook them down here in the South and then feed them to their birds. So when we're buying eggs, that's like the #1 thing we always check in. Do you feed your birds any kind of iodine? Do you feed them shellfish? You know, but like I said, when you're in Southeast Texas and your birds are free ranging, all bets are off. There's no telling what they'll be eating. And look at the berry bat. Do you see those birds walking around? Those darker colored birds, those are the babies that I showed just a month ago.
I don't even know what my babies are.
No, your babies are right up front. Look, they're those 3 right there.
Yeah, they'd be laying very, very soon.
They're feathering out so well. Let me zoom in on them.
Yes.
They are feathering out so well. I was worried that they had gotten crossbred, but I think it's just the way that they feathered in was a little funny. They are looking good.
Which one's the mother?
I have no idea because we had 4 hens at the time, so any one of those girls out there could be their moms. I don't actually know which one's the mom.
I mean the geese's mother.
Oh. Oh. You know what? I can't even tell. Let's zoom out again. I cannot tell which one is Nemo anymore. All of the babies look just like her. I think it's this one right here in the front. And then these 3 in the back are the babies.
Yeah, the geese don't really attack.
Hey!
The babies.
Don't swat at them.
No, the babies don't really attack.
If you swat your hat at them, don't be surprised when they come at you, boy. It's different if they're trying to bite you, but if they're just minding their own business, let them be.
Okay.
Dorian's not going to mess with you with me standing in front of you. It's when you come out by yourself, you should be a little nervous. I think Dorian was getting a little too close to him for comfort. Sam, are you the one that one of the geese bit that time on the leg?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sam's a little nervous because he's actually gotten bit by one of the geese.
I got bit by one of the geese too.
I don't understand why they don't bite me, but they always bite everyone else. Well, they've bitten you once and Sam once,
No,
and then...
That was Larry.
Oh, it's Larry they bit.
Bit by him.
I thought you just said you got bit by him.
I never said that.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So, Sam's been bitten by them. Larry was bitten. I told you guys about that whenever he went to stick his hand in the nest.
I don't think you should.
Yeah, well, he was seeing it if the eggs, like how many she had laid, and helping me do inventory, and then seeing how close they were to hatching. Are you guys just gonna stand here? Alright, if you guys want to start heading out the coop, I'll stand here so you guys can walk out, and then I'll walk out behind you. That way they don't come after you. It's fine when there's 1 or 2 geese, but when there are 5 full-size geese, it gets a little creepy. Yeah, but they might as well be. They're huge.
Oh, wait. That's the mother right there.
They've definitely gotten big. Okay, guys, I know I said earlier I was going to get off of here and go about doing whatever, and I think that I am. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do besides getting this stuff out of the garden. I might have to check out the lettuce too, but I know that there are a lot of chores around the house that I'm just trying to catch up on. And while I am off school, I think I want to do something like add a bookshelf to the living room to give us some more space for storage, especially with all of our their school books and all of my college textbooks combined. There are just a lot of books in this house, so we need more space for storage. And I may show that, I may not. Honestly, it really just depends on how crazy things get. But I appreciate you guys dealing with my nonsense, as always, hanging out with me, and kind of seeing the overall update between the turkeys, the geese, the baby chicks, the birds. But as you can see, there is a lot of work to be done around here, and this mud is creating even more work. So thank you guys. I'm gonna head off of here for real this time.